Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with a Fallout 76 news update. Pete Hines recently conducted an interview with Variety titled, "Fallout 76 isn't the game some think it is," and yes, if you take one look at the core mechanics of Fallout 76, you'll know that right away. This article mainly focuses on PvP and some of the anti-griefing systems put into place for Fallout 76. It's something I have yet to discuss on the channel and offer my thoughts on. I thought this article did a great job. I'll have it linked in the description down below, and now let's take a dive into it. Fallout 76 is a Fallout game you can play with others, or at least that's how Pete Hines, Senior Vice President of Bethesda's Global Marketing, describes the game when I ask him for a one-line breakdown. "I think some people get it, and some absolutely do not," he told Variety. "They think it's straight up PvP. They think it's running around and shooting folk, or that you can't play by yourself, or that nukes are going off every minute, or that you can grief people. They are judging it based off other things that say online or post-apocalyptic." So this is referring to some of the rumors that had popped up between the announcement trailer and the full reveal at E3 of Fallout 76, where we were getting articles talking about how this game was going to be somewhat like Rust. And when you hear there's PvP, you wonder if you're going to be running around and getting killed by a guy a much higher level than you, especially when you couple in the nuke system and you're working hard on your settlement, you're working hard on something, maybe you're clearing out an area and all of a sudden you're told that a nuke's coming down. There is a lot of legitimate concerns surrounding some of the mechanics, and so that's what Pete Hines aims to clear up here, considering that he has gone on record in multiple interviews saying, "The way I play Fallout 76 is by myself." He strictly plays it solo. He's only had to party it with people one single time, but other than that, he plays it like a traditional Fallout game on his own. Moving on, game director Todd Howard and his team have been working hard to ensure it doesn't fit neatly into any stereotype or really genre, and Hines believes the more that it is revealed about the game, the more people will start to get exactly what it's going for. Some will say, "I get it," and some will say, "I get it, but that's not for me." Now here's one thing I've had an issue with the way that Fallout 76 has been covered. There are still, naturally, a ton of questions surrounding this game. Questions that could be answered if the game was shown. Considering it's coming out in November, you'd think reading some of these interview answers and seeing the general interviews for Fallout 76 that this game is coming out a year from now. Bethesda has always had the mantra, "We don't like to just talk about it, we like to show it." But I feel like with Fallout 76, it's going in the opposite direction. I'm seeing a lot of talk and I'm getting a general idea of some of these mechanics, but I feel like this is a specific title that you will not fully understand how it all works, how it all comes together until we play or at least see the game and what they are talking about. It really makes you wonder in some way what state the game is currently in and how much of a final decision is made on a lot of the mechanics, like we're talking server size, we're talking how PvP works, etc. Hines also wanted to make it clear that while players can attack players, it won't be a completely lawless free-for-all. It is important to note that this is not a full-on PvP game, he said, where you get in the world and everyone shoots everyone. It's more like a challenge to another player. He said the game also has systems in place to prevent in-game bullying or constant harassment, but a lot of this is still being figured out, he said. You can't just let things go unfettered. So the issue I raise with this challenge system is I like it because I'd rather it not be a full-on free-for-all. But it's already been confirmed, Fallout 76 does not have any NPCs. That means that the only things you will be shooting in this game if you choose to never engage another player are the creatures slash mutants covering the West Virginia wasteland. I know we don't have a lot of factions within Fallout 76, but for example, a core part of Fallout has always been the raiders. And how do you get that feeling of a raider ambush if the player has to submit a challenge to the other player and then they have to accept it? Is there a seamless way of doing it where it pops up on the bottom of the screen, you press A, but then that kind of removes some of the surprise of the encounter, right? It almost feels orchestrated, manufactured. But I think it's important to have this in place because, let's say I've been playing the game for 3 months and you just bought the game. It wouldn't be fair if I'm running around with all my nice gear and I could easily take you out. So I get why these systems are in place, absolutely. It's just that I think it brings about its own set of issues. Once again, it kind of boils down to we need to see the game, and once we see the game, maybe it'll all make a little more sense. Now let's say you die in a PvP match. Well, here's what happens. Death in the game won't cause a player to lose progression, and when you come back into the world, you won't reappear where you died unless you want to. You don't get all your shit looted if they kill you, Hines added. There is a revenge thing you can opt into and try to go head to head. So you can kind of go back and forth. A lot of the ways Pete Hines described it in other interviews was pretty much that, let's say you find a death claw in the wasteland, you fight it, you get killed, the game loads, and you're like, You have the choice. I'm going to go back at it, or I'm good. I'll go for it later at some point when I level up. The same thing kind of applies with PvP. We did see in the reveal for Fallout 76 that you do gain caps if you kill someone in a PvP match, although it's a very small amount, it seems, of 8 caps. But that's really all the article goes on to highlight. As you can tell, lots of questions from me, and I feel the core reason I will emphasize yet again to answer these questions is merely by showing off these game mechanics. Like Bethesda has said, they don't like to talk about it, they like to show it, and I especially think when there's a lot of confusion surrounding this game, you should probably show a little bit more. Obviously, you don't want to show too much before launch because that ruins some of the surprise, some of the fun players are going to have, but how can players feel compelled to pick up the game outside of it being a Fallout game if they don't know what's going on within the title itself? Anyway, that'll do it for me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments down below, so fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content we create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.